Thank you everyone for coming to our Waste Management and Recycling Capstone and URC presentation. My name is Kaitlin Griffin.
I'm Caitlin Borges.
I'm Megan Caruso.
I'm Bryce Lacombe.
I'm Morgan McKenney.
I'm Grace O'Connor.
All right, and first we're going to give a quick introduction to waste management and recycling, what that is, and the context of our project. So we wanted to cover the who, what, when, and why of our project, starting with the who. This really pertains to the UNH community because, that involves students, faculty, employees, and visitors, really anyone who recycles or throws away waste or trash on campus. And so what is that? What's waste and what's recyclables? So recyclables refers to paper, cardboard, plastics number 1, 2, and 5, and tin and aluminum products. And then waste is separate from recyclables. That includes food waste and non-recyclable items, things like certain types of plastics and certain types of papers. And so what is the timeline for this project, and how does that affect everything? We wanted to take a snapshot of recycling education and waste management at the university now so that the university can use that to better plan for the future and improve their waste management policies and their recycling education policies. And finally, why is this project so important? Anything that isn't recycled or recycled properly, meaning it's contaminated with food or something else, gets thrown away. And this is really important because it affects the amount of waste that UNH produces, and then it also affects other types of certifications like our STARS certification.
All right, so the ultimate goal for our project was to gauge student knowledge about recycling on campus. And we found through a couple different studies done at Michigan State and Cal Berkeley that inconspicuous labeling of recycling bins or improper knowledge or education systems in place can really impact recycling on campus. And we just have a few examples here around our campus. As you can see on the right, there's just no labels on that trash can. So students have no idea which side is recycling, which side is waste. On the left side, it says recyclables, but it doesn't tell you what is recyclable, what you can't throw in there. And another point, that recycling bin all the way on the left, there was no waste bin near it whatsoever. So if nobody can find a waste bin near a recycling bin, it's more likely that people are just going to throw their trash in the recycling bin and use it as a waste bin in general. But as you can see here, another example from campus, this is a much better recycling bin. It tells you what you can as well as what you cannot recycle. And it tells you about food waste, cleaning things out, and how plastic bags are non-recyclable on campus. So we should have many, many more of these around our education hall specifically.
And now we're going to get into some of our deliverables from our project.
So we did the pilot survey and we had 88 participants from various classes, from Sustainability 401, which is the getting into the dual major, so getting their knowledge on that from that front, and then Sustainability 750, which is our capstone, and getting knowledge of what seniors have throughout the years, and then Health Management and Policy 501. That was kind of our control group and a discovery class that kind of ranges everyone's an average student's knowledge about recycling. And so we found that the majority of people that took the survey were 2nd to 4-year students. And then we also found that people would, 5.4 out of 10 people would rinse their recyclables, which I found that interesting. And then we also found out that they thought that the majority of their waste was food related. And that was 28% of people said that. And then overall, we found that people were unsure about recycling at UNH. As you can see on this graph, 24% found information through campaigns like posters and visuals, but you can see also that 16% had no information about recycling, which is kind of concerning that 16% of people might not just be throwing things that really aren't recyclable. And we also found out, we asked the question about food and liquid contamination, and some people thought that you could recycle that and recycle those recyclables, and that's not recyclable. And 17 people thought that. So just getting it was just 88 people that we took this survey, and who knows how many more people think that it's recyclable. And just feedback overall, we found that just more information in general, flyers, posters, visuals, even just near the recycling bins to show what plastics are recyclable, and just more recycling bins in general, even outside, they said would be helpful. And yeah.
All right, so we followed up our pilot survey with a small-scale waste audit to see what students are physically putting into some of the bins. We did this by picking some of the biggest academic halls on campus, which were Paul College and Ham Smith. We then went through and took all the contents from every bin on the first and or ground floors. We took these contents back to Nesmith and we split them into categories based on material, these being paper, cardboard, aluminum, the recyclable plastics, which were 1, 2, and 5, plastics that are labeled but not recyclable, and contaminated items, which are anything that were excessively dirty with food or just made out of materials that didn't fit into any other category. And after we separated these, we put them into bins and then weighed the bins to see how much of each recycling receptacle was made out of what material. And when we did this, we found that the majority of waste overall was contaminated items. So theoretically, everything that we picked up would have been thrown into a landfill instead of recycled. We also had an outlier, which was the cardboard. There was just one really big box in a recycling bin, so we kind of disregarded that. This complements our data that students are relatively unsure about what they can recycle and how to do it properly. And if we were to extrapolate this data, we'd find that probably many more bins on campus are contaminated and can't be properly recycled.
So another aspect of our project was to create a data tracking system for Trash to Treasure. And Trash to Treasure is a student-led social enterprise. They collect items that are discarded by students at the end of the academic year, and then they resell them in the fall. And this is really helpful to UNH because it helps divert waste from entering landfills. And it's an integral part of UNH's overall zero waste goals. So we know how much, we know that Trash to Treasure is diverting waste from landfills, but we're not exactly sure how much. So finding out how much would be really helpful for UNH to understand where they stand right now in terms of waste management. And they could also report this number to STARS. And just in general, this would help Trash to Treasure and ultimately UNH in improving on their waste diversion efforts. And so in order to do this, we created an Excel sheet. You can see a snapshot of it here. So that Trash to Treasure can use this every year and input their inventory numbers, and then it would immediately be calculated, the total waste that's being diverted. And so in order to do this, the total waste diverted, that's reported in tons normally, on STARS at least. So Trash to Treasure is unable to sit and weigh every single item that they're collecting. So instead we used inventory count from a prior year. And since Trash to Treasure's collections are usually similar year to year, we were able to use this inventory track as a basis and then find the average weights for each of the items. There was about 200 items on this inventory count, and so once we embedded the average weights for each item, then these average weights would be multiplied by the amount of items that Trash to Treasure then collects each year. And so then this would be immediately calculated for the total weights in pounds and then converted with an embedded formula into tons, and the total weight in tons would be the total waste diverted.
And for the next steps and goals of our project, we hope this increases the presence of concise labeling for recycling bins and also increases the placement of trash near recycling bins so that we can limit that amount of trash getting put in the recycling due to laziness. And also we want to promote educational graphics that are hopefully made from our survey and our waste audit, and that should aid the UNH recycling initiative. And lastly, we want to finalize the metric with the Trash to Treasure team by showing them how to use it so they can hopefully be implemented this spring and start collecting that data for the future. And thank you for your time, and we look forward to your questions.